Greed is good. That's the phrase from the famous movie, Greed. Greed is the motivation of many and the motivation of a growing number of people today all over the world. This week, we reflect on Luke 12, where Jesus specifically addresses greed. Christ warns to take care to guard against all greed, for though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions. Jesus' teaching on greed is actually a double-sided lesson. It is both a warning, but more importantly, it also provides us guidance. As for the warning, it is quite simple. Christ does not direct that we as humans should not enjoy the rewards of our labor. Often, we work very hard in our lives, and there is nothing wrong with benefiting from our sweat. It is not a sin to be a hard worker, or someone who carries out his or her work with zeal and is passionate about their labors, for that is admirable and an enviable trait. But we cannot just work to accumulate more and more possessions. The greed Jesus warns of is not the work side of the equation, but rather the use of the fruits of our labor. If our sole goal is to accumulate more and more, and store more and more, and hoard more and more, then our work is for an empty ending. Our desire to work hard should never be to just overstock our barns and amass earthly bounties so our possessions grow and grow at the expense of others, and most importantly, at the expense of God. Christ says in Luke 12, though one may be rich, he does not say you cannot be rich. However, he cautions us that our existence, our purpose, is not rooted in possessions. You see, that's the greed Christ warns of. Our lives cannot and must not consist of possessions only. Our lives and the purpose of our lives transcend possessions, transcend material items, and transcend any earthly rewards. But in the passage, Christ also provides us not with just that warning, but also much needed guidance. You see, we have a greater cause and a higher purpose, and for that, actually, we can definitely be most greedy. You see, when we look at the word greed, it is simply defined as an overwhelming desire to have more of something. The problem, or sin with greed, is how we, as humans, define that something. Let's define that something as God and be greedy for God. We need to be greedy for Christ and Christ's ways. The passion to be rich in money needs to be replaced with the passion to be rich in Christ. We as Christians have to stop the overwhelming desire to have more earthly possessions and begin and nurture an overwhelming desire to have more of God. In our lives, how we live, and with our work, let us accumulate more and more of God. If we work this tirelessly hard for God as we do for money, our lives and the lives of everyone else would be far better, and the world would be a much better place. We as Christians need to grab and gather every aspect of God, just like we try to grab and gather every dollar. To be rich in God and God's love is truly priceless. Let us center our lives on the desire to have more of God rather than money, for we all would be enriched with a wealth that knows no end. If our greed is to gather the love of God, then greed is not just good, it is great.